What is up, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty Fan Podcast. I am your host, Caleb Munoz, and with me also is our other host, Ryan Munoz.
What's up,
How you
guys?
doing today, Ryan?
Doing pretty good, man. It was a good day. First day back for football. I've been waiting for this for a long time, especially if you're a dynasty player. You know, you have all those drafts and just been sitting on all these rosters, right? Looking at them every day. And so it's good to finally get some points and get some wins and some losses. And it was a good first week.
Yeah, how your fantasy team's doing right now?
Uh, I- I'm about. I didn't do too well. I had some injuries. I had played T. Higgins in a couple
Oh yeah,
leagues. Keenan Allen in a couple leagues, and then a couple of guys just went off on me. I went up against a AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts stack that hurt, but overall, I'm a little bit over 500. I would probably say, looking at counting dynasties and whatever redrafts for week one.
that's good. Definitely good to have some football back and the fantasy starting. So what we're going to be doing right now is just going over a recap of week one. So some of our takeaways for fantasy. So Ryan, go ahead and start us off.
All right, so this first one, man, is tough because I don't have this guy anywhere, and I believe in the last show I even said I was kind of fading him just because he was going so early, and that's Saquon Barkley, man. Saquon Barkley's back. He looked amazing. You know, he had 18 rushes for 164 yards. He had a TD. He looked explosive. He didn't look hesitant at all. He wasn't like shying away from contact. He just looked like his old self, very explosive. He was also catching targets out of the backfield. So that's kind of tough. That's kind of a tough one because, like I said, I don't have him anywhere. But he was just going so early. I have him in a lot of best balls. I think I mentioned that the last time because he was going in round 4 of best balls over the summer that we did. But now in the redrafts, I saw him basically at the beginning of round 2 or the back of round 1. So I wasn't really getting much shares of him. And man, he looked amazing in week 1.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say Barkley's back. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be a top 5 running back for sure.
Yep, he definitely looked powerful with his running. Definitely looked like his old self. He was shifty, explosive, definitely showing off the speed. So he got a little game clip here. This was a big run he broke off. So he definitely looks
Yeah,
back, man.
yeah,
I got him a couple of drafts. Got him early, second round and one. I'm definitely happy about it right now. It's still early, but he definitely looked good out there, man.
and then also the Titans are a pretty good defense, man. I
Yeah,
actually played the Titans in a couple of leagues, thinking that they would, it would be a good little defense, to stream and not so much. So
yeah. So I got a couple ones for running back as well. So my first one, guys, is that AJ Dillon outperforms Aaron Jones. So for me, I mean, I knew AJ Dillon was going to get in there, going to get some work, but pretty much doubles him in fantasy points. He has 20 to Aaron Jones 10, and he also out targeted him. So I thought, he'd have more carries, which he did. He had 10 carries, I believe, to Aaron Jones 5. So, but on top of that, then he gets 6 targets, right, to Aaron Jones's 5. So definitely AJ Dillon had a great workload out there in that Packers offense. Basically led them in targets. So he was their highest targeted player with 6 targets. Right behind him was Aaron Jones at 5, and then you had Romeo Doubs at 5 also. So what do you think about those Packers games, man? Aaron Rodgers struggled there. Aaron Rodgers struggled there without Devonte Adams for sure. Who we'll get into. Devonte Adams had a monster game. We'll get into him later. But what do you think about those Packers, the wide receivers?
well, I think they stink. The Packers wide receivers. That's what I think. But I'm a Vikings fan, so. But in all honesty, I agree with you on the AJ Dillon. I don't know if it'll continue at least not the receptions. I would assume Aaron Jones. It'll kind of balance itself out, and he'll definitely be the target leader moving forward. But for sure, AJ Dillon is somebody that you can plug in and play probably week to week, especially with the state of the wide receivers that the Packers have. They were missing Alan Lazard, who I have in a lot of leagues, and so I'm really hoping that he comes back and that he can kind of help Aaron Rodgers just enough. And so I'm kind of high on Lazard if you have him in leagues. I mean, because the Packers wide receivers just looked abysmal. But we also have to give credit to the Vikings defense. Again, I'm not trying to be a homer, but they did invest a lot of money and draft capital in the defense in the offseason. And so I think that was evident. So
Yeah, so definitely those rookie receivers looked pretty much raw, right? Dobbs had 4 for 5 for 37 yards. Christian Watson, he had, man, the first play, I have it right
first
here
play,
pulled
yeah.
up. First play, man, I thought, man, it was 75-yard bomb. I think he's going to have some big plays. He's going to have some big games. I think he'll be some boom bust. He definitely has a lot to learn. You saw Rodgers shaking his head at him a couple times where he missed him. This
Yep.
was just that first play of the game that,
You
man,
could
if he
see
hit
you could
that,
see the look
wow,
if you watch the whole
exactly.
video. Right after that, like Aaron Rodgers had to look like okay, like he like rolled his eyes, like he's not gonna get the ball
Yeah.
again, you know. And he ended up
And
getting targets, but
he looked at
he
the
was
coaching staff a
yeah,
couple of
he
times during
was
the game because there was
annoyed.
another one. There was another one, kind of in the red zone, where it was like a pick play where I think it was Cobb was supposed to pick off Watson's man, and he was running a little out route, and he never even looked for the ball. He didn't look. He looked late, and Rodgers had already thrown it. It almost got picked off, and Rodgers was looking at the bench. So
Mhm.
definitely going to have some growing pains there, but he has some sneaky upside as well. Still, I think he's going to have a couple of boom games, like I said. So, Ryan, why don't you take us into your second one?
The second one, which is something that I was a player that I'm really high on. I own him in a lot of redrafts and a lot of dynasties. I traded for him, and that's Tyreek Hill. A lot of people said to sell Tyreek Hill, don't draft him in round 2. He's not going to perform with Tua. That's just nonsense, guys. If players are elite, they can perform. So Tyreek Hill had 12 targets. He had 8 catches or 8 receptions. He led the team in targets, he led the team in catches, and he led the team in yards. So he had 8 catches, 94 yards. And really, Tua really didn't even have a good game as far as for fantasy is concerned. But Tyreek Hill, he's going to get targets. They paid him money, a lot of money. He's the wide receiver one. I mean, Jalen Waddle caught. I think he had a couple of
It
catches.
was
I know
just
he had a
four
touchdown.
targets, I think.
He had a touchdown.
Basically, it was all in one play. It was a good
Yeah,
play, but I think
so
he
it
only
was
had
a
four
big play.
targets.
But I mean, moving forward, I mean, if they're going to force feed Tyreek Hill the ball, they're going to try to get him the ball in space, and that was evident. So he's somebody that I definitely think is going to be. He's a wide receiver one. He's top 10 for fantasy. And then the target share. I mean, over 36% or 35% target share. That's just crazy.
36, yeah, which is great, ridiculous.
And
So
also
that's
the
a good.
Patriots. Well, really quick, the Patriots are usually notorious for game planning and taking away your number one weapon. That's
Yeah.
kind of what they do. And it didn't matter. Tyreek Hill was a monster.
So that's a great little segue into mine because very similar. We have Devonte Adams. So a lot of people too are saying there was people saying to fade him, right? They were saying without Aaron Rodgers, they weren't sure how it was going to be going from the downgrade of Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr, who Derek Carr didn't play good at all. He had a bad game with turnovers, but it did not matter because 17 targets, 46% target share for Devonte Adams, which is ridiculous, insane numbers, and he had 30 fantasy points. So first game with Derek Carr, 17 targets. Man, that's just a great game. 30 points. Probably going to be the lead receiver, one of the lead receivers, right? Top 3. I know Chase had a good game, so did Jefferson. But man, it's good to see. If you drafted Devonte Adams in that late first, early second, you're definitely happy with what you saw with the first game. You had Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow out there, both got 6 targets. So with them on the field, still Devonte Adams just dominates.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to my point. It's like people weren't sure how he would do with Derek Carr. I mean, he did
Yeah,
amazing, right? Elite wide
yeah,
receivers, they're going to perform.
yeah.
And so I'll tell you what, I have one team in a redraft. It's a 10-team league redraft. I started Adams in round 1. This is my draft. Adams and then Diggs and then A.J. Brown, who we're going to talk to here about here in a second. And that team is looking pretty nasty.
Yeah, I think we can go into AJ because we're just still going with this theme of wide receivers.
Yeah, AJ was a monster, man. That team I'm talking about, I like I said, I got him in round three, I believe, at the back end of round three in that draft, and then I tagged him up with Jalen Hurts, and that team is looking really good with those three elite wide receivers. And AJ was just he was a monster. It kind of goes back to my point where a lot of people didn't like, oh, he's going to the Eagles, and how is that going to work? They already have Smith, and Jalen Hurts doesn't really throw the ball very well. He's more of a running quarterback. Nonsense. AJ Brown, 13 targets, 10 receptions, 155 yards, just a monster game. And really, Devonte Smith, who I have in a couple of leagues, he didn't do anything. He scored
Mhm.
zero, and so just a huge game. And I really think it's going to continue because the way that they're using him, they're moving him around the field, and Jalen Hurts is looking for him. And so I think
Definitely
that's
get
just
him involved. Yeah.
a really good combination to have. It's a great stack to have moving forward.
Yeah, you're definitely happy. I have them. I have the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts stack, and I'm definitely not worried about that fantasy week, or that fantasy matchup. So let's go into some running backs. We had one on AJ Dillon. I'm going to talk about another player coming off of a serious injury, but James Robinson looked great first game back. It's kind of crazy because he barely really started practicing, and they were unsure if he was going to play. And he comes out, he out carries ETN, which we'll get into. He has 11 carries for 66 yards, so 6 yards per carry. On top of that, he has 2 targets and he gets the touchdown. So James Robinson, man, for coming off an Achilles tear
Yeah.
in such a short time, he definitely looks great out there, man. So that if you have J Rob and you got him in round 13, what a pick, right? What a steal. And I'll get into ETN too because ETN looked good also. He had only 4 rushing attempts, but 47 yards. He broke off, I think it was a 25-yarder.
Yeah.
So out of those 4 plays, he broke off one, a 25-yarder. So I think he's going to get some more carries. He's going to get more involved in that offense. He had 11.75 yards per carry. So just those 4 carries, but 47, pretty much 50 yards in 4 carries. And then he had those 2 receptions. I think it was 4 targets. And one of them that he fell down, I think he would have got a touchdown. One of his targets, he turned around, he caught it kind of on the spin, and then he ended up tripping up, falling down. I think if he stays on his feet there, he gets a touchdown for sure. So definitely, ETN, I think, is going to increase his opportunity as far as getting some more workload in that backfield as far as carries and receptions. So definitely looks good for ETN as well. So I think he has some upside still. I'm not all the way down on him. You definitely don't like that you picked him if you picked him like in round 4. You're definitely not happy about that. But I think that his role will increase in this offense if he continues to make plays like this.
Yep, I agree, man. I didn't think I didn't think Robinson was going to be this good right out of the gate. But it kind of gives me some hope as the Cam Akers owners out there, right? Hopefully,
Yeah.
if James Robinson can return and look this good, maybe that gives us a little bit of hope for my Akers shares and maybe even my Dobbins shares. I know it's not the same injury; he was the ACL, but still, right? It kind of gives me some hope for those guys because I have a lot of shares of them in dynasties and things. So, yeah, definitely not something that I expected for sure.
Yeah. And I know you want to talk about another young running back, rookie running back. So why don't you lead us off with that?
So the running back I want to talk about is Brees Hall. He didn't really have necessarily a great game. Um, I believe he had only like 10 fantasy points. But he only had 6 carries. So Michael Carter had, I believe, 10 rushes. Brees Hall only had 6 carries for 23 yards, but he had 10 targets out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Brees Hall had 10 targets, splitting the time, and he had 6 catches. And he definitely showed glimpses of just the potential and the explosion and the athleticism. And so I definitely think he's somebody that, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, if we're just patient, he can pay off. At least that's what I'm hoping. I got a lot of shares of him in round 4 and 5. And so he's like my RB2. And then I went and got guys like Chase Edmonds or Devin Singletary to kind of hold me over until hopefully Brees Hall kind of slowly but surely will take over more shares and more snaps in the backfield. Although Michael Carter looked great, I just think that Brees Hall is a special player, and slowly but surely they're going to start giving him more snaps, and they're going to try to get him the ball. So
Yeah, I definitely think it's only a matter of time before Brees Hall takes over in that backfield. Definitely the better running back and talents out of the two between him and Michael Carter. And that's no knock on Michael Carter, right? He's been good at RB2 last year, but definitely not the talent of Brees Hall. So I'll go into my last one is going to be, and it's probably going to trigger some people, but I've been saying this. CMC's ceiling is not the same, right? A lot of people are saying he's the for sure 101. If you don't take him, you're a coward. And I'm not doing an early victory lap because I know it's still early. But a lot of people are saying if you didn't take him 101, basically you're a coward. It was stupid to not take him 101 and to pass on that 30-point ceiling that he has. But really, he hasn't had that for 2 years, right? It's like, okay, he might have done it a few games, but definitely in that Panthers offense, they look terrible. Baker, I mean, you would think in the revenge game, Baker coming back, you would think that the Panthers would have just dominated, right? And I know the Browns are good, but definitely concerning if I am holding CMC and I picked him. Right? I did get him actually round pick 2 in one league. But if you have CMC and you got him at the 1-1, I would definitely be concerned, guys. 15 points, 15 fantasy points, and that was with a touchdown.
yeah,
So he only had 10 carries, and I think it was 4 targets. So, man, you could probably look up, I'm sure, other running backs that you got maybe like in round 9 or 10 that probably had that stat line. 10 carries and 4 targets. So for CMC and the ceiling that you were hoping for when you're grabbing him early on in your draft, you definitely got to be concerned. I would be scared. I would be worried if I'm holding CMC, especially in that Panthers offense. It didn't look good. Baker didn't look good either. So I'd be worried if I drafted CMC at the 101.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't have any drafts where I was that high. I seem to be anywhere from the middle to the back end of all my redrafts. So I have no shares of him in redraft. I have shares of him in dynasty, but yeah, he didn't have a good game. He didn't have a lot of touches. That he had, like you said, 10 rushes, a couple catches, but he just didn't have a good game. And if it wasn't for the touchdown, he really would have
Single
had a bad
digit
game.
points,
So
9 points without
um,
the touchdown.
it is early though, so I'm hoping that they'll slowly but surely give him more touches. I mean, I would think next game he's going to have more than 10 rushes. He's going to have to run the ball. I think they're going to want to run the ball more. They kind of got down early in that game, and so it seemed like they just went away from the running game a little bit. So maybe moving forward he'll get more work, and so we'll see.
The
Right?
jury's
It'll be
still
fun.
out. We'll see. Jury's still out, but I mean, it definitely doesn't look good
Yeah,
for week 1.
I agree.
Yeah.
Anybody that took him over Jonathan Taylor, that was a mistake for sure. Because
Mm-hmm.
Taylor's shown that he's just, he's the running back
Yeah.
one past 2
Taylor was
years.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
30 carries. I think he had 30 carries. Whoa.
and then
Definitely
another thing is,
disappointing if you didn't get
and
him.
yep, and then the other thing that we said multiple times in TikToks and in different, maybe on here
Social
too.
medias.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but is just that the 102 after Justin Jonathan Taylor, the 102 wasn't McCaffrey. I mean, we were going Justin Jefferson, we were going Cooper
Yes.
Kupp.
A
We
lot of
weren't.
people said we were stupid. We
Yeah.
had some comments that we were
Oh
stupid.
yeah, you're an idiot.
That's for saying
No,
that.
no, we're not. It's like because these wide receivers in today's game, the way the game is going, wide receivers just have such a high ceiling, especially wide receivers like Kupp that are going to get a huge target share. Look at
Yeah.
Adams. Adams was going at the end
Man.
of round
Yeah.
one and even
The
early in
early
round
stuff.
two. So I
Yep.
mean that's crazy. Is he going to keep giving you 30 points a game? Probably not. But I mean he has a high ceiling, and
Yeah.
so
Definitely, man. So it was a great week 1 of some football. We'll be doing another recap tomorrow night after our Monday night game. Looking forward to seeing Russ and those receivers. We'll see how Seattle looks with Geno Smith. Oof, probably not good, but we'll be doing a recap tomorrow as a waiver wire show on Tuesday. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
I need a big game from Judy tomorrow. Come on, Judy.
Let's see. Let's get it.